What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Get a Grip Sports Football. Today, I'm going to be taking a look back at my preseason top 25 and the teams and players that I looked forward to. So let's start it off with the top 25. At number 1, I had Clemson. Number 2, Alabama. Number 3, Georgia. Number 4, I had LSU, which, no, I didn't put any Pac-12 or Big Ten because we didn't know if they were going to play. So that's why Ohio State isn't on here. So number 4, I had LSU because they still had a pretty good team, and I'll get to them later on in this segment. Number 5, I had Oklahoma, man. They did not have a good season this year. Number 6, Florida. 7, Notre Dame. 8, Auburn. 9, Texas A&M. I had Texas in the top 10. Wow, at number 10. 11, Oklahoma State. 12, North Carolina. Number 13, I had UCF. 14, Cincinnati. Iowa State at 15. Tennessee at 16. They didn't last long there. And number 17, Virginia Tech. At number 18, I had Memphis. 19, Louisville. Number 20, Miami, who have actually gotten better at my rankings. Number 21, Kentucky. I had Baylor in the top 25 at number 22. They have had a horrible season. Number 23, App State. Number 24, Navy. And number 25, Virginia. Now, I didn't have any BYU or Coastal Carolina or even Marshall because I had no clue that those teams would actually break out and have tremendous seasons. So I think the worst part about this is that LSU was in my top 5. That's just straight up disappointing. I would really hope that I would have seen that without Joe Burrow or Justin Jefferson and almost all their defensive stars gone, that they're not going to be that good of a team. And then the best part, I think the best thing that I had on here, that's probably a tough one. I did have Clemson at number 1 because they looked really good. Alabama at number 2, so that's probably my 2 best teams that I put in. Florida at number 6, which most people preseason thought they were going to be like number 15 in the country, so I had them pretty high. So I'm pretty proud of that. So let's get into the next segment, teams and players I'm excited to see this season. I had Trevor Lawrence. Lawrence is projected to go first overall in many mock drafts, including mine. Lawrence has dominated college football since his freshman season when he took over the starting job at Clemson. After not putting up big stats in 2019, besides 2 300-plus yard games, Lawrence will need to prove himself to scouts, or he could potentially miss out on being the number 1 pick. Well, I don't think preseason there was any chance, and there's no chance at all now that Trevor Lawrence isn't going to go number 1 overall. So yeah, he had a great season this year besides missing 2 games, including a Notre Dame game, which they lost due to him having COVID. So yeah, pretty interesting there. The first team that I wanted to see was LSU. This is what I wrote. After losing Heisman-winning quarterback Joe Burrow and star running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire to the NFL draft, not to mention 6 defensive players, wide receiver Justin Jefferson, 3 offensive linemen, tight end Stephen Sullivan, and long snapper Blake Ferguson, the LSU Tigers are a whole new team. It'll be interesting to see if they can rebound and make it to another playoff. Well, no, they didn't. Miles Brennan isn't good, and the new team is nowhere near as good as Joe Burrow led team. So, yeah, I'm really mad at myself for thinking that LSU would do really good this year. Next up, the team that I wanted to see was Notre Dame. Okay, I'm pretty proud of Notre Dame here because I put Notre Dame will be joining the ACC this year, where they will compete against number 1 Clemson and a North Carolina team led by Sam Howell. We will see if Notre Dame can finally make the jump from playoff contenders to championship favorites, and indeed they did. So, good job Notre Dame overall. They had a great season, and ACC champions I think might be next in line. Next player that I wanted to see was Sam Ehlinger. Ehlinger came out of nowhere 2 years ago and put up great stats. The Texas quarterback still has to get through Oklahoma, but if they can come out victorious in the Red River Showdown, they have a chance to make it to the playoffs. No, Oklahoma it doesn't have a great team. Texas has horrible. I mean, I thought they were going to maybe even make the playoffs. I had them at number 10 in the preseason, and they are barely in my newest rankings that are on my website. I'll put in the link below. So, very bad job thinking that Sam Ehlinger could win a Heisman and lead Texas to the playoffs, but it's kind of funny, you know. Next player that I wanted to see was Sam Howell, the North Carolina quarterback. Howell will either have a crazy season that could end with a Heisman Trophy, or he will hurt his draft stock tremendously. And yes, he hurt his draft stock. He had like 2 really crazy good games, and then the rest of the games were like average to under average. So I think that his expectations, his hype was definitely a little bit more than he deserved, and he did not impress me. The final player that I wanted to see was Brock Purdy, the Iowa State quarterback. One of the most underrated quarterbacks in the nation is Iowa State's Brock Purdy. Though Purdy is not a running quarterback, he can still make plays through the air. Yes, that is absolutely true. And if he puts up better stats than last year, he's a real shot at the Heisman. For the first few weeks, he did have a shot at the Heisman, and then he lost a couple of games and other players came up that were tremendously better, so his draft stock is probably still the same. Maybe it even fell a little. So it'll be interesting to see if he even gets one vote in the Heisman race. And then the final team that I had was Baylor. I thought they were going to have another good season because Charlie Brewer was back, but nah, they did. They're like 2-6 now, and they just got blown out by Oklahoma yesterday, so not a good season. This is what I wrote preseason. Coming off of the best season since Corey Coleman was a Baylor Bear. I miss Corey Coleman, man. I wish he was still in the NFL. Baylor lost star wide receiver Denzel Mims, defensive lineman James Lynch, defensive lineman Bravion Roy, and linebacker Clay Johnston to the NFL draft. They also lost running back Jermichael Hasty. He's having a pretty good season with the 49ers. Linebacker Blake Lynch, safety Graylin Arnold, and defensive end James Lockhart. James Lockhart is highly underrated along with Graylin Arnold. I think those guys had tremendous college careers. I think that they definitely could have been drafted. And now I do think that James Lockhart is a free agent now, but I think Graylin Arnold is still in the NFL roster. But the most important loss was head coach Matt Rule. Oh, gosh, I wish we still had him. Who changed Baylor from a 1-10 team, yeah, that was a hard season, to a 11-3 team who made this Sugar Bowl and lost to Georgia. In place of Rule, Baylor hired former LSU defensive coordinator Dave Aranda. Quarterback Charlie Brewer will have to step up if he wants to make another bowl game. He did not have a great season, interception after interception. Baylor had a horrible season overall. We don't have the talent that we used to have on the roster. So we need better recruitment periods, and for now I'll be focusing on college basketball. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you guys next time.